Go 1882, a building that started in 1882. I'm going to flip it around right here as we talk. You guys can just get some beautiful views of the building. I'm going to have to get into the shade so we can see a little bit better. And today we're going to, we're right here, so I'm going to have to try to zoom in and give you guys some good views of this spectacular place. So we have Jenny 1882 as well. All right, guys. Started in 1882, all right, and this is going to be, just next year will be what, 140 years, so we're at 139 right now. The exact date is going to be March 19th, 1882. March 19th, 1882, the first stone is placed down for the Sagrada Familia, and it is still not finished today. All right, now what we're going to talk about obviously is why it's taking so long. It looks like there's a lot of different things going on around here, and we're going to get going with 1882. The first architect is not Antoni Gaudí. Not Antoni Gaudí. Everybody always hears that name, and we know about this amazing church that he built as we're panning around. But the idea actually comes from Josep Maria Bocabella. And Bocabella is basically a bookseller who has this idea to start up this group of people that are going to support Joseph, all right, and they kind of have this idea. March 19th, also here is Father's Day in Spain, so March 19th becomes a really important day. He decides he wants to start up this church, Sagrada Familia, the Holy Family. If anybody didn't know that translation right there, Sagrada Familia is the Holy Family, but it was supposed to be this group dedicated to Saint Joseph, and what the idea is to hire a different architect originally, who is Vilar, Francisco Paula de Vilar, who is going to start building the church. Now, he only builds that church for 1 year. He only lasts for 1 year, where he's trying to
call me.
Yeah, of course. If anybody was on the Gothic tour, we actually ran into another live streamer who is here today as well. What a coincidence, all right? So we've got got a new friend, all right? So we might see him on some future lives as well. All right, where was I? Francisco Paulo de Vilar takes over, and he builds basically half of a crypt. All right, now what you see today is everything that's been going on since that time. Francisco Paulo de Vilar builds half a crypt. What happens? He gets into a fight with Bocabella. They don't know kind of how to come to an agreement on what materials to use, the cost of the building, and what Bocabella does is he fires Vilar. Now, Vilar is only going to build half of that crypt, and who they're going to find after offering the job to some other architects, they're going to find Gaudí. Now, Gaudí, you guys, if we remember from some of the buildings that we talked about the last time, Casa Milà, the Casa Batlló, Gaudí is very young at this point. It's 1883. He's only 31 years old. All right, so to take over a project like this, he's going to take over, he's going to finish that crypt, but he's going to change everything. The original idea for the Sagrada Familia was completely different. If you look at it, it's just kind of like a neo-Gothic church. Nothing too spectacular, but the new idea, I'm going to flip back over here, is this right here, and I'll show you guys a little bit later what it's going to look like at the end when it's all said and done. Now, one question that I always get is, when is it going to be finished? And this is one of my favorite things, or I should say one of my favorite things to tell everybody. I'm going to kind of just move around so you guys can see some different angles and everything of the church. Kind of really tall, so it's kind of hard to see all of it at once. But one of my favorite things to tell people is that it was going to be finished in 2026. All of the idea for this church was to finish in the year 2026. So in just 5 years, we were going to have it all done. Now, why was it going to finish in 2026? Is because Gaudí unfortunately passed away before he could finish everything in 1926. Now, when he dies in 1926, does anybody know how Gaudí passed away? Unfortunately, what happened to Gaudí for his untimely passing? Because 2026 was the 100th year anniversary. Everybody was set to have this idea of church finished. But unfortunately, with COVID, everything's been closed, and they weren't working on it for quite some time. They didn't start working again until about October, and so now the plans are to finish some other date. I haven't seen anything yet. Nothing's been published in terms of what specific time it's going to finish, but the idea is to finish one of the towers this year in 2021, and then to have eventually the building done as well. But it's not going to be that 2026 point anymore. And I remember doing tours just in the past where everybody would always just be kind of looking at it and going, there's no way it's going to be finished in 5 years. And I said, well, those are the plans, let's go. And now everybody that didn't believe it, you're right. We didn't think a pandemic was coming to stop it, but it's not going to be 2026 anymore. All right, I'm seeing one of the comments there, was he hit by a tram? He was. You guys, what happened with Gaudí in 1926, it was June 7th, 1926. He's walking down to the old part of Barcelona. He is going over to a church to pray, as he did every single night, and unfortunately, while he's crossing the street, he is hit by a tram. Now, June 7th, he's hit by that tram. He's taken to a hospital, again, over in that older part of the city, and then June 10th, he's unfortunately going to pass away. He's going to pass away, and that is when we are going to see kind of everything happening after what we're going to look at, a lot of what we're going to look at today, to finish up this church, because for many years there were some issues, right, and what to do and what was going on. So he was unfortunately hit by that tram. But what we have today is this incredible church, and what we're looking at right now, just so everybody knows, is the Nativity Facade. All right, I'm going to try to keep panning around for you guys. If you can let me know kind of, I don't know, at any point if you want to see anything specifically. It is kind of hard to see everything all at the same time, but if you want to see anything specifically, the nice part is right now I can walk in the street. There's no cars or anything coming. You guys can see just right here, they've closed off this street, and it's been closed off for some years now. It was right after those terrorist attacks in Barcelona. These two streets around the Sagrada Familia have been closed off to through traffic, so there's a lot more space for all the tourists. Rick, good to see you coming in from Seattle, and Debbie as well from Peru. All right, so we got a lot of people from all over. This is great. Now, you guys, what we're looking at is the Nativity Facade. What Gaudí's going to do when he takes over is he's going to finish that half of the crypt. He's going to... ¿Qué tal, Roger? ¿Todo bien? Sí. He's going to finish the crypt, and he's going to build this Nativity Facade. Now, the Nativity Facade, what he's actually going to finish before he passes away, is the tower here on the left. The Nativity Facade is all but finished, and then this tower over here, the Barnabas Tower, is the one on the left that Gaudí is going to finish before he dies. And then all of these other things are going to have to be put in a little bit later as these years are going on. Okay? Now, the Nativity Facade is so important because this is the birth of Christ. What we're looking at right here, I hope everybody brought their Bibles. They have it just right next to themselves so we can check all of these stories. I know you guys have been reading to get ready for the tour, to know what's going on, because more than anything, the Sagrada Familia is the Bible in stone. All right? This is the Bible in stone, and this is the whole idea. From the outside, you have the story of Christ. The Nativity Facade is the life, the birth of Christ. Right? Now, where we were, so you guys can see, I'm just going to show you behind. We're over in the park to start. So you have to imagine that the sun is going to rise on this side, the birth of Christ, the rising of that sun, and then the setting of that sun over on the other side, which is the Passion Facade. The Passion Facade is the death facade. That's the story of the death of Christ, right? You have the Nativity and the Passion, which are finished, and then you have the Glory Facade, which is over on the other side, which will be finished later. They had started working on it a little bit more before, and you guys can see over in that direction. We're going to get over there a little bit later to the Passion Facade. You can see that the idea is to finish that. Obviously in the future, but what we had was the start of 2020. They were working on it a little bit, but then the stoppage really changed the entire idea. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a little bit closer here. I'm right up at the edge. We can't go any further. You can see everything closed off, and I'm going to zoom in for you guys so we can see, and everybody can see that right there. We're looking at the Holy Family, La Sagrada Familia. Right there, you guys have Joseph, you have Mary, you have the baby Jesus, and then in there you have all of these different animals. You have all of those different animals. It's kind of the very, very beginning to all of this. But those, believe it or not, weren't put on until much later, after Gaudí's death. It was in the 50s when that was actually put on. A lot of this has been put in later years. We're looking at those main doors, and what you can see are the three wise men, the three kings coming in, and then on the other side, right there, what you guys can see are the shepherds. Above them, the angels, choir of children, they're all rejoicing in the birth of Christ. There you guys go. And there's so much going on as we move up to the top. You can see different scenes from the Bible as well. Mary has been told she is the one that's going to carry God's child. Moving further up, you can see Mary's coronation. And then even further up, you guys have the tree of life. All right, as we go up to those towers as well. Now, we'll talk about more of the plans and everything as we move around, but while we're here on the Nativity Facade, I want to just take advantage of some of the different aspects that we can see. Now, what I've tried to do is get some pictures as well, so I can show a little bit closer some of these figures, because right behind the light post that's kind of blocking our way, we've got two scenes right here. Now, you have three doors on the Sagrada Familia that you guys can see. And this first door, just right over here, what you can see on the right, which is right behind, can you all confirm that that picture has shown up? Just everybody, so that I know that that picture is there and everybody can see it. We're good to go. What we're looking at right there, you can see a Roman soldier. And this is what's on the Sagrada Familia. I'm just trying to show you a little bit closer without having to zoom in. That should be a little bit better. Right there. You've got a Roman soldier, and if you can see it, it's holding a baby. And this is representing the killing of the innocents. This is when Herod decided, all right, Joel, thank you very much. This is when Herod decided that he was going to kill the children under the age of 2, trying to kill Christ so that he would not have that competition. And right next door, I'll show you guys another picture a little bit closer, is the flight to Egypt. And so you have Joseph, you have Mary sitting on that donkey, and that donkey is always a really, really hard thing to see, but it is one of my favorite parts of the entire Sagrada Familia. All right, what you guys can see right there is that donkey that is taking Mary away, and what you have is a donkey that was actually a real donkey. Now, you guys, what does that mean? All right, what happens with the Sagrada Familia is that nature is used in the Sagrada Familia all over the place. We'll talk about it. But what you have are Gaudí, who is actually trying to take, instead of just sculpting people, trying to sculpt all of these different animals that you guys could see right there, he wanted it to be as real as possible. So instead of just looking at somebody and making a sculpture, he said, we need to have a real donkey brought in. All right, but it couldn't just be any donkey, because this donkey was going to be riding or walking for a long time. So it needed to be a tired looking donkey. And what they were going to do is make a cast mold of the donkey. All right, so you guys can see what you have right there. You can see the idea of not only the donkey there, but you have all of these different characters that were made as cast molds. And what they did was they would take kind of the mold and they would put it on to the animal or to even the person, and what you would get later was a perfect replica. And because the donkey came out so well, it was used on other things, living things, and people as well. The Roman soldier that I showed you guys earlier, that's actually a man from Tarragona. Gaudí thought that the people from Tarragona had the most connection to the Romans. If you've ever been down to Tarragona, you guys can check out some really, really nice Roman architecture. You've got some Roman ruins and everything. And he thought that the Tarragona, people from Tarragona, that province where Gaudí was from as well, were the most Roman-esque, the most Roman-like. And so he asked a barman. He asked a barman if he would like to be the person posing for the Roman soldier. And the Roman soldier is that barman. But what you can see, if you go closer, I can't show you guys from just right here and from the picture before, it's not the same. This guy actually had 6 toes. And so Gaudí, instead of making it, I guess, correct in terms of having 5, he took the literal sculpture, the mold of that man, and that Roman soldier has 6 toes on one of his feet. That's one of those little secrets that you guys will find out about the Sagrada Familia. All right. Other things that you're going to see, the woman that was actually Mary, that was used for Mary right here, she was just a very, very devout woman who wanted to walk from Barcelona all the way to Jerusalem. They said she made it all the way to Mataró, which in train now is about 20 minutes. Walking would be, quite some time, but when she got to Mataró, she decided, it was really far. Jerusalem was going to be so far that she decided to just turn around, and she was kind of given this great gift by Gaudí to be put into the Sagrada Familia. So you can see all sorts of people in there. One of my other favorite things for you guys are the trumpeters, those angels that you can see right there. The angels, there's two on that side. They're hard to see, and you have two just right there. Now those angels were actually, and imagine when the Sagrada Familia was being built, there was nothing around here. All of this was not here. When the Sagrada Familia was being built, there used to be army men that used to practice. They used to march. They used to kind of trumpet around as well, and they made a lot of noise. And so one day, apparently Gaudí got into a little bit of a fight with them. And he said, you guys got to be quiet. You're making too much noise. I'm trying to work right in here. And what happened was they got into an argument. The bishop who was visiting at the time had to run over, kind of make some peace. And then what there was kind of bartered in between all of them was that they would be put into the facade as those angels right there. All right. Christine, yeah, so much detail. Guys, I know if there's so much that's going on, we could be here for hours. We're not going to be here for hours. I'm just trying to point out some kind of secrets, some kind of things that maybe generally you wouldn't know as well. Obviously some overall history, but some general things that, apart from that, just a little bit of secrets that maybe you wouldn't see all the time. All right, my favorite part about all of this is that one of those angels wasn't a soldier. It was actually someone that had worked with Gaudí, Opiso, who had actually kind of grown up with Gaudí basically as an apprentice, and he was put into the mold to make that angel. Now he was kind of claustrophobic, didn't want to go into that whole entire process, and when he said he didn't want to Gaudí, apparently Gaudí's response was, too bad you have an angelic face. All right, so you can see Opiso up as one of the angels right in there. But just absolutely incredible. All right, now you guys can see I'm going to walk over the other side. I'm going to try to be able to get you a view of the other section here so we can see a little bit more. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask those away. I'm going to flip this back around and we should be good right here. You can see that third door. There's a little bit of blockage right here. I'm going to try to block out the sun for you there. You can see this is a little bit more of Christ, now older. All right. And you can see this third door right here, beautifully decorated by the current lead sculptor over here. And you can see those doors as well with those beautiful, beautiful colors. All right, now obviously those are put in a lot later for you guys. But you can see all of this idea. One thing that I can't point out to you guys from here are the columns that look like trees. You can see one just right here next to the post, looking like those palm trees going up. And on the bottom of each of those palm trees, you come down and you can actually see if I can get closer enough, you guys can see a turtle. On this side you have the sea turtle, and then you have a land tortoise or turtle on the other side. And that's representing that eternity, that length of time, no rush, which is perfect for the Sagrada Familia. All right, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head on a little bit further back so you can see a little bit more of this Nativity Facade, because the idea, and just so we can get an idea of what's going to happen for the end, when everything is said and done, what's the final idea as we start to make our way around a little bit more. The end, the goal is to have 4 bell towers, just like you can see right here, on each side of the Sagrada Familia. 4 bell towers on each side are going to be 12 in total. Remember, there are 3 facades, and those 4 are going to represent those 12 disciples that are going to be following Christ, those 12 apostles that you have. So you have 4 on each side, but there are going to be 6 more towers, all right? And those 6 other towers are going to be the 4 Evangelist towers, which you can see just right in here, this little smaller one, this one of 4 that are surrounding the main tallest tower. And then you have the Mary Tower, which is technically right now the tallest, will be the second tallest overall, because the main central tower is going to be the Jesus Tower. And that Jesus Tower, when all is said and done, is going to make the Sagrada Familia the tallest building. Let's sit down so you guys can see this a little bit better. The tallest building in Barcelona, and there are rules that no other building will be able to pass that Jesus Tower. Now, when it's all said and done, how tall is the Jesus Tower going to be? 172.5 meters tall. 172.5 meters tall is the tallest building in Barcelona, but it is also going to be the second tallest thing in Barcelona. Now, when Gaudí was alive, he said that nothing should be built closer to God than nature. And the tallest thing in Barcelona, does anybody know what it is? Anybody know the tallest point in Barcelona? Gaudí said that it could not be any closer to God, the Sagrada Familia, than nature, and built it just a little bit shorter. It's going to be just a little bit shorter. Also claiming, one of my favorite little legends about it, claiming that God was the perfect architect and that he was just in second place. It's just a little bit lower right there, right? But if anybody knows what that tallest part of Barcelona was, let me know. And I see some comments coming in right here. So hopefully everybody's enjoying this. Incredible buildings, Jeanette, and then Emily was in 2019 was here, all right? So you got here just in time. That's perfect. Rick, sorry, did I flip it? Did I flip them over? Did I flip those turtles right there? That would be my bad right there, all right? Yeah, so you do have that idea of where the land and sea is. You guys can see in this direction over here. You've got the sea down in that way, and then you've got the mountains behind us right there. All right, if anybody knows that idea of the tallest thing in Barcelona, it's Montjuïc. I know there is a little bit of a lag behind my questions and those responses coming through, so maybe they'll come in just a minute. What you guys have is that idea of Montjuïc, all right? Now what we're looking at right here is the Mary Tower, right? And what you have with the Mary Tower is, like I said before, will be the second tallest overall, but it is the tallest right now, and you can see all of that scaffolding on it, which is really cool because they just added that about a week ago. All right, they put about 11 meters just on and added to it, and so there's really only a little bit left. And if you guys want, on my channel I have a video which is all about the Mary Tower. I went in for the open doors last September, was it? And I went inside and I got to see what it was going to look like at the end. All right, so there's a whole plan for it. And you guys have that idea of the tower of what it's going to look like, all right? So this is the back, this is that idea of the Mary Tower. I'm coming down so you guys can see this, but what I want to show you right here is what the final product is going to look like. And there's a store right here that actually has a model. And so you can see that Nativity Facade right there. And what we won't be able to see with all those towers, that's going to be the finished product right there. And what we won't be able to see is the main facade. There's a little bit of a glare right there. I'm going to try to get out of the way, but you can see those other 4 bell towers on them and all the other towers that will be the main entrance. Right now, what they're using is the Nativity Facade as that main entrance. When tourists visit, so if anybody's gone inside, you can see that. But the idea is that the front, the main facade, will be over in the Glory Facade. So where we are right now, you guys, is just in the back right here. You can see one of my favorite things that I always point out within the Gothic quarter are the gargoyles on the cathedral, just in the Gothic quarter in general. You can see what will be the gargoyles here as well, functioning gargoyles as well. all of those, if you can make out snakes, lizards, kind of these reptiles. Remember, the idea was those gargoyles not only spitting out the water and being functional, something that Gaudí wanted to use right in here, but also, so kind of panning through, but also kind of those more of like usually thought of as like demons or some of those kind of different animals. Decided to use reptiles here. Again, that idea of nature right in there. Ruthie, nice to see you, coming in from Argentina as well. And I would like to point out, guys, just where we are walking down the road, Provenza. You guys can see there's a McDonald's, a Five Guys, there's a Taco Bell, a Burger King, and a KFC just right over there, right? So if we get hungry, we can make a quick fast food stop for anybody. Everybody always asks for recommendations over here. I would never make those recommendations. There's some better places around. There's a place right around here that is called Casa 10, which won Best Patatas Bravas basically in Barcelona because they were the third in all of the world. And that was one just last year. So you guys could definitely, if you're here, Casa 10 is really, really nice. What we're looking at is the sacristy right here. Try to back up as far as I can for you guys. The sacristy is one of the newer additions. And this completion right here, you can see the difference just in the color of the stone, even from what we saw within the Nativity Facade as well. I'm gonna cross the street with you guys, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about, we're going over towards the Passion Facade. So we'll get over there, there's another park on the other side, and we'll get into that idea of what's going on. But if you do have other questions, please feel free. So we're crossing through again. I told you guys the idea. This is one of the other streets that's closed down. And I do want to show you this. Anybody that hasn't been, it looks like some of you guys have been over to the Sagrada Familia. If you haven't been in a while, there's this new sign that's popped up that you guys can see. All right, I'll let these guys pass here. Pardon. An execution of the project to demolish the parochial spaces in order to widen the streets, right? And you can see right here that these are the works that are carried out between Barcelona City Council and the Junta. So this is the people that run the construction of the Sagrada Familia, the owners, right, from 2018. And this is going to change the access to the public transportation right here and make these streets better that you guys can see all around. Now, I know that doesn't sound really interesting at the beginning, but guys, this is one of the greatest kind of newer pieces of information. It's not so new anymore, but one of the newest pieces that's been coming in. In 2018, the Sagrada Familia signed the building permit. All right, you guys, they signed the building permit. I'm seeing we've got Barcelona on the bucket list. Awesome. Hopefully when you guys can come over, you'll get over there. And Nikki, the Sagrada Familia is the most visited in Barcelona. It is the most visited in Barcelona. Here's a question for you guys while I continue with the 2018 news. We're going to cross the street really quick here. What are the top 3 visited attractions? Or so we should say, what are the other 2 in the top 3 in Barcelona? What are the other top 2 attractions visited in Barcelona? Number 1 is the Sagrada Familia. If anybody can guess the other 2, some extra points as well from before. All right. Now, what I was talking about with 2018 is that in 2018, the Sagrada Familia and the city of Barcelona came to an agreement, I should say, to pay for the building permit. A building, you guys, that was started in 1882, didn't apparently file the building permit until about 1885, all right? But they did do that. Unfortunately, it wasn't with Barcelona. This area of the city was actually known as Sant Martí de Provençals. And so 2018, they came to an agreement between the City Council of Barcelona or the government of Barcelona and the Sagrada Familia to pay about $41 million to the city of Barcelona, right, for not having that building permit for about 133 years. Can you guys imagine 133 years they were constructing without a building permit? And so that's part of what you guys can see right there. They're going to be, looks like they're widening the street, but also going to be, all that money is supposed to go towards making the public transportation better. So it's not even just the bike lanes, but it's also the metros, all sorts of different things right there. Obviously with the pandemic, some of that money has been pushed back. So the things that they were supposed to pay for 2020 a lot of that has been pushed back to 2022. That's some of the newer news that's been coming out within the Sagrada Familia, as they haven't really been building much, just that Mary Tower that we were looking at before. And I'll give you guys another view just on this side while we're here. of that Mary Tower as some answers are coming in for the most visited things right there. You can see the Mary Tower and what it looks like. Camp Nou and La Rambla, Parc Güell. All right, so we got Camp Nou, La Rambla, Parc Güell. All right, so we're looking for attractions. La Rambla wouldn't count. It's not paid to get into. All right, so we don't maybe have that number right there. But maybe some of those are. If anybody else wants to guess, I'll give you guys a little bit more time, because where we are over and right here is the Passion Facade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up a little bit more so you guys can see a little bit better the idea. See behind me right here, that Passion Facade, which is that second facade that was built. So if Gaudí died in 1926, there was work being done on the Sagrada Familia, things that were being put in, foundations for this section put in about 1954, but it wasn't going to be until 1986 that the Passion Facade was actually really constructed with all of the different characters and all the statues that we'll see when we get onto the inside. And this is what it looks like today. Really, really nice facade right here. This is closer into the old part of the city. Coming on down, I'm going to see, I have a picture from maybe when it's a little bit later in the evening, if you guys can see that, just to get an idea. And I'm going to stop talking now. You hear the bells? All right, so we know the time. That's that 45-minute bell right there. But you guys can see that Passion Facade a little bit later in the evening when that sun is coming right in. Now, what I told you guys before is that the sun rises on the Nativity, it sets on the Passion, and it's absolutely incredible. If you can ever go in, I always get questions about when's the best time to go in. Why it's built like that is so that when the sun rises on the Nativity Facade, what you see are blues and greens on the inside. Remember, the Sagrada Familia is the Bible and stone from the outside, but it's light on the interior. And so what you get is this idea of blues and greens on the inside, but reds and oranges on this side. And so when the sun is coming in on this side, you get incredible, incredible lighting. Test this out right here, see if I can give you guys this video. Just confirm that it does play, please, for me there. This is the interior of the Sagrada Familia when you can see those blues and greens, but in that evening, you can see that idea of the reds. I'm gonna give it a play one more time, just so you guys can see a little bit of an idea of what it looks like. You always wanna go in, I always recommend in the afternoon just for those beautiful, beautiful colors. That sun, that little bit harsher sun comes in a little bit later. But that's what it looks like here, and then another idea for you guys of that sun coming in, maybe similar to what it would look like just right now. Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm seeing some guesses in here: Casabatio, Tibidabo, all of these different places. It's actually Parc Güell, which is, I think it's right around, it's just under 3 million, about 2.9 or something like this million a year. But keep in mind that now people pay. In the last couple of years, last several years, people have been paying. It used to be over like 9 million a year, and that's why they lowered the capacity by putting in that fee to get in, so that less people are going in and they can really pay to renovate all of that. Parc Güell, and then someone said Camp Nou. It would be, yeah, the museum, Barcelona Museum Football Club, gets so many people. That's basically that top visited museum in Barcelona. All right. All right, I see Mark, one of the last people coming in. That's really cool. Yeah, because there's last tourist to come in. We were able to go in September and October when they were allowing locals to go in for free. They were raffling off, and those are kind of the last times people were really in there. It was just in the afternoons, though. Now it's been closed, and we'll see when they open up. Guys, we're a little bit closer right now, and what you have is the Passion Facade, all right? And you can see all of these different characters, all of these different statues that are in here. If you can see just over going to try to raise it up. You can see just over, the idea is built by Subirachs in 1986. You have the Last Supper right there, and that's Christ talking to the disciples. Following across, you have the story that we'll hear where you have Judas and the betrayal kiss. You can notice that right behind Judas, there's a snake to the bottom right. Okay? The betrayal kiss by Judas, and then Peter, who's denied Christ 3 times, is weeping right there. And if we move a little bit further down, we can get over towards Christ being taken by those soldiers. The scene for Pontius Pilate is right in the back here. And what you have even is, going up a little bit more, Christ falling with that cross. We're coming back over. If you notice, we're going in an S-shaped pattern. This is really, really interesting. Right here, the main scene above the door. Get that in focus for you guys. You have Veronica right there. And she is, after Christ has fallen with the cross that second time, you have Veronica offering that cloth. Christ's face appears. And then you have those Roman soldiers next to him. And one thing that's really cool that not a lot of people always get to see is Gaudí right there. You can see Gaudí looking on. Now, this is not a plan that Gaudí had, but they put a little homage to him a little bit later. Very famous photo of Gaudí, one of the last photos taken of him, shows him in front of the Cathedral of Barcelona, and they took that idea and created a little bit of a homage to Gaudí right there. Obviously, we've got the Roman soldiers that come into play. And then moving back up, you've got Christ on the cross. He's been crucified. And you can see that idea. If you don't know anything about Subirachs, if you see Subirachs in any of these other places around Barcelona, you have Christ over that skull, which is kind of like this representation, of life over death. Continuing on, the story continues. You have Christ's body being brought into the tomb right there. And then as we go higher and higher, I'm going to zoom out. You've got these bones with the cross. This is the last thing that was put on top right there. And if you can see right behind that cross, you've got Christ rising, that golden Christ that is rising right in between those towers, right on the bridge that connects those towers. Nikki asking if I'm a Barca fan. Yes, I am. Watched the game yesterday with a tie against Atletico. Any other Barca fans out there? Love the buttresses, we're saying. You guys can see all of these columns are supposed to be like the sequoia trees. And all these ideas of nature are being brought in, and it's absolutely spectacular to see from the outside, those ideas of the trees, but also onto the interior. What I'll do is I'll show you guys again a picture from the interior to get an idea. The interior is supposed to be like a forest as well. You've got trees inside that create those kind of arches, those columns. And you can see that idea, the entirety of the Sagrada Familia giving you these forests and those columns made to look like trees. I'll play that one more time so you guys can see it. But just from the top coming down, using almost kind of like the roots for that support, create the idea or the image of a forest. Right? So I know we can't actually go in, but hopefully those videos have given you a little bit of an idea. And we're saying it makes it a little bit easier to see. Yeah, it does, definitely. Everybody always notices how different this is, but you have to imagine how much newer, how much more recent this was put in. This is about 60 years apart from that Nativity Facade. The Nativity Facade finished in 1926 for the most part. Here, not put in until 1986, and some of these stones even being put in as recent as 2018. All right, so you guys can see that whole idea up to the 4 pillars, those 4 bell towers. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk a little bit more around to the other side, to the Glory Facade, so you guys can see, hopefully you guys can see a little bit of what the Glory Facade looks like. I just want to point out while we're right here, you've got these old schools. Some of the workers, their children would go to school over here. These are remade. They actually, unfortunately, had burned down at one point. And these are the remakes. But we're going to walk around to the very front to the Glory Facade, so you guys can see what's going on over here and see what it looks like, because I think when you come over here a lot of times it's not as visited. It's not a very visited part because there's really not much going on. I'm actually gonna have to cross the street so I can show you guys a little bit better of the idea. We'll get across right here and I'll flip the camera back over for you, and you can see that as it's kind of coming into view. I'll get into the shade so you guys can see a little bit better. But what's going on with this Glory Facade is that the plans, the original plans for the Sagrada Familia, were maybe to take up a little bit more space. And in fact, you have two parks on each side that we visited already, both the Nativity and the Passion. Behind, everything's kind of closed off. But this actual front portion, which you guys can see right here, very bare, not much decoration at all. Obviously, there's a lot to do from that sculpture that we saw a little bit earlier, that replica. But what you guys can see is that there's what needs to be finished and those supports put in right here. What happened was that there's supposed to be an extension over onto this side of the street where we are. Realistically, the original plans were to show kind of like an entrance coming over to where we are right now, so that this building has actually caused some issues in the past. Now, everything we're walking right now, there's people that live here. And those people that live here have lived here for many, many years. You have to think that when there wasn't much going on in the Sagrada Familia, maybe a lot of people thought that they were never going to get to the end of it. So these people that have been living here for years, for decades, had some issues a couple years back. And those issues were what's going to happen when the Sagrada Familia needs to get finished up, and what's going to go on with all of these buildings, what's going to happen with the people in the buildings. So what you can see are these signs that come up, and it says, for example, this one up here is, they don't want the tour guides lying to the people. They said, my life is here. I don't want to just throw it all away. And there's some others, it's hard to see with the sun that comes in, but we are people, we're not money for change, right? And so the idea was that a lot of people started saying that they were going to tear down all of these buildings, and that this was going to basically come over from this side onto the other. And there got to be a very, very big problem with it, that tour guides were taking people over to this spot and saying that. So all of these signs started to go up. But what was happening, and this is all before the pandemic, was that the Sagrada Familia actually bought some land very close to here, a couple blocks away, and that they were supposed to be moving maybe the people out from there. We still need to figure out the full details on all of that, but there was a lot of problems because people kept saying that they were going to tear this down right away. They were going to get all the people out, and a lot of backlash came from the neighbors that you can see with those different signs that started popping up. All right, but you can see the idea again, just to give you guys an idea of what's going on over here with this Glory Facade. You can see not a lot done, but eventually going to have to figure something out with that street. So when I figure out more of those details, I'll definitely have some more information coming out as well. Now, we're going to be finishing up here in just a couple minutes, you guys. So if there are any questions, if there is anything that you guys wanted to know a little bit more, we did a little bit of some secrets. There is so much that we could sit here and talk about and look at. As we said before, you could be here all day just looking at all of these different details, all of the things that are coming through. But if there are any questions that you guys have, we're kind of coming back over towards the park as well. I'll give you guys some other views of the Sagrada Familia, just so you can see how different the building looks today from before. And what you have here is, I actually have a picture that I wanted to share with you guys. And this is a picture from about 2012 from this same spot. I'm going to kind of try to move it over a little bit. You can see where those towers are and what was being built and you can see now the two Evangelist towers, and you can see the Jesus Tower, which is building up. The Jesus Tower is taller now than the bell towers, which you can see. Jesus Tower is taller than the bell towers, but you can see in the picture that I put up on the right that it is completely different, because it was almost like there was a big hole in the middle, but when they didn't have those towers going. But again, this is 2012, so this was nine years ago, which you guys have. See if I can get that picture moved. There we go. Now, one of the things that people ask a lot about is, what you can call the Sagrada Familia. A lot of people like to call it a cathedral. Technically, the cathedral, the only cathedral in Barcelona, is over in the old part of the city. You can call it a church, you can call it a basilica, or you can call it its official name, the expiatory temple of the Sagrada Familia, because the idea is that that's how it was created. The idea was that all of the money was coming from the inside, donations or private donations from the people that would be going to the church. So that official name, you guys say it with me, expiatory temple. You can sound very, very official when you guys do come back to Barcelona. You can tell everybody that you know, and you can sound just like a professional here in the city. And there's one picture that I always want to show people, and I went out and found it for you guys. What happened in 2010, believe it or not, was that the Sagrada Familia was consecrated by the Pope. And the Pope came, and I was here to see this, which was really, really cool. You guys can see Pope Benedict right there in his Pope mobile that came over. There was a mass in the church. This was November 7th, 2010, if I remember correctly. And there was huge crowds just on the bottom of the street where we are right now. And Benedict came by in that Pope mobile, and I snapped a picture which came out pretty well. You guys can see him right there. But hopefully now you guys learned a little bit more. If you did, like I said before, if you guys did learn anything along the way, saw something maybe even just new, make sure you give that like wherever you're watching. If it's on Facebook, if it's on YouTube, give it that thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe to my channel, Patrick Guide Barcelona. We're going to go do a live Q&A to answer all of your questions in just a minute here. A little surprise for you guys, but I'll be there to answer any questions that you guys do have and do a little bit of an update. If you haven't subscribed to SANDEMANs already, make sure you're doing that as well, so you can see when they're bringing out tours from all over the world. Like I said, we're going to wrap up here. We're going to open up on my channel the Q&A, and then I believe it's at 7 o'clock. People are going over to Berlin on SANDEMAN's site. So if you guys want to do a little Barcelona, Berlin, all in one day, that should be really, really fun. We can't travel right now, but we can virtually, so we can all have some great times over there.